I see lots of friends who are focused, ready for some division instruction. All right, today is the second day where we are going to talk about partitioning with division. What does that mean? We're going to start today with a review from Miss Thaxton. All students are focusing their attention on math, listening with their eyes, ears, and brain.
Today we're going to continue talking about representing the concept of division of whole numbers using the partitioning model. You remember from yesterday, partitioning is a word that means to take something that's whole and divide it into smaller parts, as we can see in the example pictures here. Yesterday we had talked about how when we have smaller numbers, like this first candy bar right here, if we have 4 pieces and we have 4 people, it makes sense to break off one piece at a time and to give each person one piece. But then we talked about how when we get to larger candy bars like this one, it makes better sense to go ahead and just break off 3 pieces at a time rather than one at a time. So a little bit more per person each time, just a little easier, a little quicker. And then we got to this gigantic candy bar right here. And we realized, wow, breaking off one at a time definitely is not going to work. Breaking off 3 at a time probably is still going to take a long time. So it makes more sense to think about things in larger groups. Groups of maybe 5 or 10 at a time when we have to divide out amongst a larger number amongst 4 different people. Well, today we're going to take that same concept and think about what in the world are we going to do when we end up with 5 gigantic candy bars that we need to share amongst 4 people.
Okay, so I'm looking for third graders who can use the raise hand button and can share out something you heard from Mrs. Thaxton. What are we talking about with division? What examples is she using? Share out one thing you heard from the video. Kaylee Cole, I see your hand. Go ahead.
I heard that we can't, well, we can, but it's going to be impossible. We can break the giant candy bars, but we could break apart the medium and small candy bars.
Okay, thank you, Kaylee. So as Miss Thaxton had mentioned, it would take a long time if we broke this one piece at a time. If we were going to partition or break apart all of these candy bars, if we did one at a time, that would take a long time. So today, what we're going to describe is how you can divide, thinking about bigger chunks. Yesterday, we had buckets. We're going to continue talking about those buckets today as we put chunks of numbers into each group. Let's continue with Miss Thaxton's video, and I want all students listening, focusing and thinking, what are we going to do today with division?
We're going to do when we end up with 5 gigantic candy bars that we need to share amongst 4 people. Well, instead of breaking up each one of these candy bars like we did in the prior example here it makes more sense to just give each person one big candy bar. And then we only have to divide up 1. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So let's say this candy bar, we're just going to give the whole thing to this guy. This candy bar, we're going to give the whole thing to her. And this candy bar, he gets that one. And this candy bar, she gets all of that one. Now, each person has one whole giant candy bar. The only thing we have to do to make this fair is to take this last candy bar right here and divide it up just like we did yesterday when we split this one up. So today's concept in division is talking about how we can take numbers that are already grouped together and divide those in the easiest possible way, and just taking what's left over and dividing that up amongst our groups.
Okay, so Mrs. Thaxton is talking about how sometimes when we get ready to divide, we don't want to count 1, 1, 1 in each group. It could take way too long. What we want to do is start by putting some big chunks of the same size in each group. And then if we have any left over, we can partition that and put a little bit more in each group. Okay, we're going to look at another example together, and I want everybody thinking about what partitioning means and get ready because we might be sharing out in a breakout room. We're going to watch this example using buckets, just like yesterday. We're going to listen to the word problem, and we're going to watch as Mrs. Thaxton puts big chunks of equal size into each bucket. Be ready for our breakout room.
All right, let's see how that works when we are working with numbers. So here we have 48 divided by 3. Our dividend is 48. That means we have a total of 48 objects that we need to distribute or divide up amongst 3 buckets or 3 groups. So if we think of this just like the giant candy bars we were just talking about, we can think of the groups of 10 as like the giant candy bars.
So Mrs. Thaxton is about to demonstrate how you can put equal chunks into each bucket. Let's watch what she does.
Groups of 10 as like the giant candy bars. We can give one giant candy bar or one group of 10 to each group. And that means we've given away 30 items, whatever it is that this 48 represents. So we've given away 30 of the items. Okay, so let's get rid of the 30. Let's take and minus 30 from the 48 that we originally had. That leaves us with 18 that we need to distribute.
Okay, we're going to pause our video here and we're going to move into a breakout room and talk about what we noticed Mrs. Thaxton doing. Your job when you get a breakout room is to explain to your partner what Mrs. Thaxton just did. What Mrs. Thaxton is showing today is very important because it's what you are going to do with your task. You are going to look at each bucket and you're going to decide if you will count by 10s or 5s first. And then if you need to, later on, you will count by 1s, just like Mrs. Thaxton did. You will check to see that you have the same amount in each group so that you are dividing correctly. Your seesaw task looks just like this. Today, your job is to complete slides 1, 2, 3, and 4, showing division using equal groups. Remember, you are going to start by counting by either groups of 10 or groups of 5. When you get closer to the end, you may start to count by 1s. Don't forget, you need to fill in the quotient. Some friends forgot that yesterday. And you need to double check that every group has the same amount inside. Division is sharing into equal groups.